Cinema Cold, I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Honto.
And we are concluding, is that correct? We're concluding our
martial
arts.
This is the last episode of Martial Arts.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, this is probably the least amount of martial arts in any of the movies we've watched.
Really?
I think
there's a decent amount.
I would say
like
even Roadhouse.
I feel like
Roadhouse
Karate Kid probably has the least.
Okay, but like more. Oh, yeah, I guess Roadhouse does. I mean, it counts as like a fighting movie, but it's more like It's more like barroom brawl kind of stuff than it is like an art form. I don't know, but I'm also just talking out of my ass.
Well, we're doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990, and let's get another opinion on this. Let's bring in a special guest. We haven't done this in a while. Miguel, why don't you go ahead and show that beautiful face of yours?
Contestant number 4.
Miguel, why don't you introduce yourself other than your name?
Hi, my name's Miguel. That's about it, guys.
Who are you?
Well,
I've known you guys since I was this tall. You can't really tell on the computer.
Well, I think for Matt and Chris it was this tall, and then I knew you when you were this tall.
Oh, that's right.
So Miguel's been a friend of ours for quite a while, and Miguel, you used to be at least pretty big into turtles. Is that correct?
Like the animal?
Yeah,
just in general.
Like the animals.
The animal.
Yeah.
I'd come over and be like, you guys know that they're not amphibians, they're actually reptiles.
Nerd out of here. What's your history with Ninja Turtles?
No, actually, I don't know where you got that info. I might want to check my Wikipedia page on that.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, I grew up liking like the cartoon and stuff, the movies. I've only seen the movie since like when it came out.
Yeah.
And I haven't like gone back to rewatch it. But I have read like a few of the issues, like the first few, like I think it was like the first 4 issues of the Turtles. And then like I've got some graphic novels, but just like kind of collect random issues. So I dig the Turtles, but I wouldn't say I'm like a source to like to be like, that's not how, like I don't think I'll be here like at the side of the movie like, why'd you guys like this movie? They didn't stay true to the Turtles.
Right.
Dude, you are officially the turtle expert in the editing.
Yeah, I would say
video.
you heard it here first. Miguel is your guy for it.
When we edit
TMNT
this,
expert.
Just anytime Miguel has something to add to this, just pop up Turtle Boy. And that'll be...
I did wear green for this, so I think that's.
I think we all kind of have the same history. We all saw all the movies as kids, grew up with the cartoon.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead, and before we actually start really getting into the Turtles, let's talk about 1990. This movie on Rotten Tomatoes. Really broken sentence. Let's go ahead and what do you think this movie had? Turtle Boy, help.
Miguel should do the honors and take the first guess here.
Yeah, Miguel, what do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes?
I wonder if like I haven't really looked at a lot of Rotten Tomato scores, but I wonder if like nostalgia like helps it boost it or anything on that site.
It's all over the place. Just whatever your guess is, might be it.
I'm just gonna dump it at a 70.
70. Okay, Hanzo, what do you think it's got?
Do like 63.
Okay, Matt.
I'm gonna go with close to Miguel's, but I'm gonna go a little bit above and do 73.
You guys were all very close. 40%.
Oh wow!
Wow, really?
Wow.
Yeah,
low.
And as the movies go on, they get even worse.
I would say, yeah, it can't.
What?
It can only get better from here.
Well, it drops down to Turtles 2 has a 35%, and then Turtles 3 has a 23%. So I have heard some people say that Turtles 2 does not hold up like it did when we were kids, which makes me nervous.
Yeah,
that doesn't make me nervous because I don't think it held up when we were kids.
I don't think it was that good.
I think I knew that when I was like, that's actually the first movie that I ever saw in theaters was
nice.
Turtles 2.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, and I don't think it was good when I was a kid. So
yeah,
is that an Owen Wilson?
It happens all the time.
Wow.
Wow.
All right. So how much do you think Turtles 1990 had for a budget? Miguel, we'll start off with you.
Any number. Any number. Let's just go with $20 million.
Okay. Hanto?
15 million.
Okay, Matt, do you know what it is?
Yeah, I do know that.
Okay, all right. So I want to ask you. So the budget for this movie was 13.5.
Oh wow, nice.
So, and then how much do you think it made in theaters? Now, this was not a worldwide movie. It was only available in the U.S. So, Miguel, what do you think it made in just the U.S.?
$20 million.
Okay, Hanto.
$35 million.
Okay, Matthew, do you know?
I do know this, and
Oh,
I'll say the trivia for it.
Okay.
If
That's fine. Domestically made 135. Which
Wow.
is a huge deal based on.
We were both way off.
I mean, that basically like what 7 or 8 times its budget, or something like 9, 10 times. That's insane.
yeah, it is
exactly 10.
Is that with inflation?
No, without inflation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So this is considered the biggest independent film of all up until like Blair Witch Project came out.
Okay.
Like that's how big of a deal this was. Like they took a gamble on it.
Is that the prequel?
Yeah, the Book of Shadows. No, that's the second one. Sorry, that's the second one. No, but like this was like the biggest independent movie up until Blair Witch. So which is crazy because like you think about like the independent scene that like dropped in the early 90s.
Mhm.
Like this was the most successful independent movie up until Blair Witch. So this beat out Pulp Fiction.
Oh dang.
If you think
So
about it
it's-
in
yeah.
retrospect,
Yeah.
like
Wow.
Pulp Fiction's a bigger movie, but
So this is the
This movie was made-
at the
was
time
made
this is
for
the
less and made
this
more.
is the Avatar of independent movies. It broke
Mhm.
box office records and
yeah,
Pulp Fiction.
It
did.
is
because,
kind of
like-
weird. Okay.
it was a big gamble because New Line Cinema, who owned Nightmare on Elm Street at the time, they were only known for Nightmare on Elm Street. The Teenage Mutant Turtles license were being like optioned around, and nobody wanted to buy it because of I've never seen Masters of the Universe. Have you guys seen it?
Once when I was a kid.
Okay, that movie bombed so hard with Dolph
Yeah.
Lundgren. That
Yeah.
movie bombed so hard, and nobody wanted to buy Ninja Turtles because they're like, it's the same exact situation. It's a cartoon,
Okay.
it's a toy line,
Yeah.
it's kind of goofy. Like, so nobody wanted to buy Ninja Turtles. So New Line Cinema, who had Nightmare on Elm Street and were only known for that, bought Ninja Turtles and made it for $13 million and made a huge profit off of
Wow.
it.
Nice.
So
Very
biggest
weird because-
independent movie up till Blair Witch.
It's weird when you say that because when you think of like the big indie films, you think of like Halloween and Blair Witch and stuff like that. And you don't even like Turtles is never even brought up.
I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that as an independent movie, to be
Well,
honest.
speaking of like even being brought up in general, like this movie has kind of like faded. I feel like nobody really talks about this movie anymore. It's bizarre because for what a big deal that it was / is, and like even the copy we watched of this, like it was digital. It was like a dirty copy. It was grainy. Like it's weird that this movie hasn't gotten like a really good treatment on Blu-ray stuff like that. I don't
A
know.
Criterion release, a proper
Criterion release. Yeah. Let's go ahead, Ando. Start off with the cast and crew.
Directed by Steve Barron, best known for Coneheads, Pinocchio, starring Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and lots of music videos, specifically Billie Jean, Take on Me, and Toto's Africa and Rosanna.
Take on Me, I think, is one of the best videos of all time.
Yeah.
that's
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I mean, was it inspired by Nightmare on Elm Street? What came first, Nightmare on Elm Street or?
They were competing. They came out at the same time, and they said, yeah.
Competing franchises, basically.
Speaking of that music video, that lady never paid her tab at the cafe.
Whoa.
She just left.
That's crazy.
It's been like on your mind since, right?
Yeah,
Miguel?
it's bugged me all the time. She just went into the comic book and just left.
Nice. Starring this film stars Sam Rockwell, Skeet Ulrich, and Scott Wolf as Foot Clan thugs.
Really?
I
did not see Skeet Ulrich there.
Yeah,
That's
he's
cool.
a background character, but yeah, Sam Rockwell's like credited as lead thug. But this really stars Judith Hoag as April O'Neil, Armageddon, and I think the most recent,
She was in Armageddon?
probably like a background.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then
It's just-
the new Nightmare on Elm Street, like the remake.
Oh, she, okay.
Probably like one of the parents or something. Elias Koteas as Casey Jones. He was in Shooter, Fallen, Zodiac, and Shutter Island.
I actually just watched him in Some Kind of Wonderful,
Okay.
John Hughes movie.
Oh yeah, from the 80s. Is that
Eric Stoltz and Leah
Okay.
Thompson.
okay?
Yeah.
Was he like a teenager back in that movie?
He was. He's like the punker in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got James Saito as Shredder. You guys just watched him, Matt and Chris. You guys just watched him in Hot Dog the movie.
No, we watched Hamburger, the motion picture.
Oh, dang. I got the two mixed up.
Hot Dog, the movie, is the one before. Hamburger, the motion picture, is the sequel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miguel, these are real movies, by the way.
Yeah, these are real. These aren't.
It's fun.
You can find them on YouTube.
And they're watching them.
Yeah. They're
I
terrible.
just kept getting that image of like, which way do you fold that one for the paper?
But he was also in Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, which is considered a cult classic. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I remember not really being able to get through it. It was pretty tough.
We need to watch that for the podcast. I've never seen it, and I heard it's supposed to be an awesome movie.
I'd be willing to give it another try if we wanted to cover it at some point.
Yeah.
We have John Pais as the voice of Raphael. Previous episode, Scream 3. He's the partner of Patrick Dempsey's character. And then most recently popped up in the Joker movie. We got Robbie Rist as Michelangelo. He's best known as Cousin Oliver in the Brady Bunch TV show. Leonardo is voiced by Brian Tochi. He plays Takashi in Revenge of the Nerds. He's the foreign exchange student. And he also pops up in Police Academy 3 and 4.
Really?
We got Kevin Clash as Splinter. He does the voice of Elmo. And previous episode, he popped up in Labyrinth. And that's about it that I have for cast and crew.
Okay. Did you even mention Corey Feldman, or I just totally not hear that?
Oh, yeah. He's there too. He does the voice of Donatello.
I thought you were building up to it. I was like, oh man, that's a big reveal.
Started off with Sam Rockwell. And as a background.
We got to
character.
go highest build to lowest build.
Really. Is Corey Feldman, has he done anything? Have we had him on our podcast before? Not personally, but did we do a movie with Corey Feldman?
I've got a surprise for you guys. Corey, can you come on?
And a fifth window pops up. I don't think we've had him on the show,
which is surprising because I feel like we could do an episode on Stand By Me. We could do an episode on Friday 4.
Coming soon. Lost Boys. That's coming soon.
Yeah. Goonies. There's a lot we could do on him.
Yeah.
So, all right. Who did you say? Did you say who wrote this?
I did not say that.
Okay. Well, Matt, you had something about the editor of this movie. Is that correct?
Oh, okay. Just random, real quick. One of the editors before she got fired on this movie was Sally Menke, who was Quentin Tarantino's editor. It was her first movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. That's fun.
So in talk about the creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, isn't one of them the creator of Heavy Metal magazine or took over Heavy Metal magazine?
I don't
know. You guys know?
No, I don't.
The question is,
does
do you know?
Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
You brought it up. Do you know?
Miguel, do you know?
I don't know. I feel like because Heavy Metal, because Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, I thought they were struggling when this comic book came out. So I thought that would have been after the Heavy Metal magazine, wouldn't it?
Eastman was an editor and publisher for the magazine Heavy Metal.
Okay. Yeah.
That answer your question, Matthew?
I'm just bringing it up because we're going to eventually cover Heavy Metal. Miguel, have you seen me and Miguel watched Heavy Metal together?
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day.
Nice.
Back in our prepubescent preteen days. We watched it. It helped us usher us into manhood.
Oh, okay.
But
Heavy Metal with Sammy Hagar.
Yeah. You just call it Heavy Metal. Noise.
Have you guys read how Turtles was created? Like the idea of it?
Yeah.
I don't think I know the full story, but it was something about they were like in a restaurant or a bar or something, and the guy said he can come up with something real quick for an idea. And like on a napkin, he just wrote like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and he's like, "Here, that's your next thing." He just kind of came up with it on the spot, or it's something like similar like that.
Yeah, I think I forget who draws and who writes, but he was just like try to like he's like come up with something like the most wild thing, and he ended up drawing like this weird turtle, and he's like, all right, let's do it.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I wish I had that creativity on the spot, but here we are instead. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go ahead and dive into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This movie has an awesome first like 5 minutes because it's really setting the scene for this town. It's we're cutting to all these people getting robbed. These robbers are amazing, by the way, because their timing of people looking away for 3.5 seconds and turning around is amazing.
But then they're like trading off the wallets. It's like he went that way, but he really went that way. And then he's passing off, they keep passing off the wallets throughout the entire city or whatever.
At one point, at one shot, I'm going to call this out.
Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're about to say.
Danny, the redhead kid, they keep passing the wallet and it gets to Danny. Then Danny passes it to Shredder. Because it's obviously like Shredder's arm that comes in.
I've done the same thing.
I was like, dude, Shredder's just out in like full daylight.
That's what I was gonna say.
I imagine he's doing like the Raphael. He's wearing the trench coat and the hat, but like the spikes on his shoulder pads are like just tearing through the trench coats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you imagine that like Shredder's pissed though? He gets the wall and it's just got like a Diners Club credit card in there, but it's like he's like shit.
They should have showed him go back to the lair and he opens the wallet and smells the code.
All the pennies just fall out like
along with that like fold out of all your friends like the pictures. I feel bad now.
Please return this wallet too.
We have to return this. Find this address. So there's a whole thing where they're pretty much just running to town. It's basically like these delinquent kids who have nowhere to go. And actually, I guess like Shredder and who's Shredder's like
Tatsu, I think. Yeah.
They kind of almost run like a cult-ish in a way. It's kind of like that episode of Boy Meets World where Sean joins a cult. You guys remember that?
No.
Yeah. I wrote that down on my notes.
Can I pause you real quick? This movie opens up with a shot of the Twin Towers.
Oh, yeah.
Does it?
Yeah. And it's like, it's so wild just to like think like it's not there anymore.
It really is. Yeah. Every time you see it, like, specifically, I remember like the old Spider-Man teaser that they had.
Yeah.
Like they wrap the criminals like in a web that are between the two
like the helicopter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so weird.
It's weird to see it. Oh, God. It's weird to see it after like even after like 20 years, and it's like, I'm still not used to that.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna cut me off with just be like, oh, actually, Corey Feldman was in Meatballs 4. I'm like, oh, okay.
Best known from Meatballs 4.
I'll pull up his IMDb just to like periodically drop another movie that he's been in.
There you
go. There's actually a lot of movies too. I feel like a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s use the Twin Towers as a nice like establishing shot.
Yeah.
And going back 20 years later and watching these movies, you're like, oh man, they use these shots a lot, and which I don't blame them. They're gorgeous buildings.
Well, outside of like the Statue of Liberty, it's like the one shot that establishes that you are in New York City.
In New York, that's good. Yeah. So in the movie, they are just pretty much running amok. It is kind of cultish because they're like, hey, you don't belong here, you belong with us. We're an actual family. You can see the Boy Meets World episode for reference. And basically we got April O'Neil, who is a news reporter, and she keeps talking about this like gang of kids or whatever, and they call them the Foot. Do they say why they're called the Foot, or is it just their?
It's so like at least the name for in the comic books, they sort of wrote it like based off of 4 different comic books, almost like a parody, but like just their own take on it. But this is more of a Daredevil reference because the gang is called the Hand, which is the ninjas and Daredevil, and so they named it the Foot.
It's very similar where they just have like hordes of like ninjas basically that attack the Daredevil and that book, and
the like the origin story that happens is kind of also like almost like a Daredevil-ish kind of start too, which we can get to it when we get to that scene.
So April O'Neil is this news reporter. She's reporting on the Foot, and we'll get to it later on in the movie, but I guess she keeps bringing light to this gang, and some of the people in the city don't like it, and they want her to shut up. and she gets attacked by the Foot here by Sam Rockwell. And
Yeah.
I want to go back and rewatch this for Skeet Ulrich. That blows my mind. But one of the turtles saves the day by throwing his sai at the light,
Which is
capturing
Raphael.
everybody, then disappearing.
Yeah.
And so while the turtles are walking down the sewer, it cuts to like the main credit sequence, like the turtles.
Mhm.
But it's such a weird freeze frame because it's kind of like half their foot's like up in the air, but it's like a shadow of half their foot in the air. Like it's a really weird. You should have had like all four of them up in the air at the same time, or something. Or actually,
They do that
in the second one.
They do it in the second one.
Yeah.
They all jump up and it says turtles.
Secret of the Ooze.
Turtles.
Turtles. Here's something interesting about the title.
Turtle Boy.
So in England at the time, they
weren't allowed to have turtles over there.
Close.
It was illegal.
They had restrictions against nunchucks. So the edit for this in England is they took all the scenes with nunchucks out because they thought, like, I don't know, they just had a thing against nunchucks because they thought it was like a deadly weapon, and
they replaced with sausages instead.
Yeah, sausages, sausage links. But they also like thought the word ninja would be like too threatening too. So the movie over there is called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Oh, okay.
So they really
that does not flow.
No,
yeah,
that was good.
So
during that whole England thing, they used to have posters, and it would be like, "How many chucks can you have?" And then it'd be like, "Answer: none chucks." And
I saw it programming in your head. I was like, he's calculating a joke right now.
Beautiful mind over here.
In that scene where April's getting mugged, they give her the yellow raincoat.
Yeah.
So I think to simulate like her jumpsuit.
Yeah.
But it's just like
cool. It's a nice little, like, I feel like Easter egg or throwback to the comics or the cartoon, you know.
Yeah.
When was the cartoon? Because this is 1990.
It's like 88, I think.
That's so weird. Because usually I feel like the movie will produce the cartoon, like kind of like the way Ghostbusters did.
87 is
that's
when it's
insane to me. Like the Turtles cartoon is such a good what's the word for a platform to make this movie. Like they absolutely. Really
like a
you
franchise.
can tell they go off the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
But see, I haven't read the comics. Is the cartoon very similar to the comics?
No.
Oh, really?
Okay. The comics are like dark.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, okay.
Or yeah, they're like Frank Miller-y kind of like writing
like
and stuff.
Kind of like our previous episode when we did the Mask. I feel like it's the same way where like the comic book for the Mask was like very, very grim, dark, and you know, I feel like the Turtles the same way. Because in Turtles, you said, Miguel, they like killed people in.
Yeah, I mean they're actually the blades are actually cutting people.
Oh my
gosh! like they don't show like on like the frames, they don't really like show too much of them stabbing people, but like it's very implied, like off frame, like you'll see like blood coming into the square.
That's crazy.
Speaking of, let's go off topic for just a second. Speaking of blood splattering, did you guys all watch the Suicide Squad trailer?
I did, yeah.
Man, that looks
super off topic.
It's so random, but yeah.
Wow, it's still comic books.
I did watch
comic books. Did you watch it, Miguel?
I don't know if I saw the trailer.
But it's like
I saw the movie.
It looks like it's gonna be a hard R.
Hard R, and they're actually gonna have fun with it this time. It looks like.
Well, I think James Gunn just does fun stuff with his movies anyway. But so back to the movie. So the Turtles are going down the sewer.
The hell was that?
And that's seriously. The first time we've ever.
You couldn't add You couldn't add anything to the Turtles conversation we were having. Like the other day, I ate 4 waffles for breakfast. And
well, tell me about
has anybody eaten 4 waffles before?
Miguel, do you see what I have to deal with every episode?
Originally
I'm just trying to follow on.
You got the beautiful mind calculations.
It wasn't going to be teenage. It was going to be adult. And then they decided to do adolescent Turtles. And then it changed to hero. And then eventually to teenage. I was trying to make a joke, but it just totally bombed.
Oh, I thought you were actually telling me trivia. I was like, really,
he's stealing my job.
Matt, you're in charge of trivia.
I was like really surprised right there. I was like, oh, I didn't see that one anywhere.
Looking through your notes.
He's like, let me write this down.
Because he doesn't have the right ones.
So the turtles go down to the sewer and they come up with Splinter. I guess we'll just talk about all their backgrounds real quick, because it's basically, I remember in the cartoon, it was teenagers who actually morphed with turtles. Is that correct?
Oh,
Or is
no,
it-
I think
I don't think
it's
so.
always been turtles.
I think
Yeah.
it was always the ooze. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Are you talking like a Jeff Goldblum fly situation where they're like,
That'd be horrifying. David Cronenberg's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
where like they hit puberty and their nails are falling off and like their ears are falling off? This is how I eat now.
It's so
get
good.
their pizza?
It's so gross.
It's like you kept spending so much time wondering if you could, but never thought if you should.
Yeah.
He walks around, he's got the shell, he's like, I'm out of here.
So basically, I guess they literally just walk into some ooze, and then they become walking, talking turtles. Is that pretty much the story behind it?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I always remember Splinter, though, being like a human character.
That was from the cartoon. I do remember.
Okay.
That.
Yeah, that was a cartoon.
Okay.
So the origin story in the comics is the fuck you, because we're gonna have to get into the Shredder story too. But essentially, like there's like this truck or whatever, and this guy jumps to push this old man out of the way, which is like the Daredevil like story.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
instead, what happens is like it causes commotion. This kid's carrying like this jar of turtles, and like the turtles fall, and like out of the truck, this like radioactive ooze falls, and the turtles land in it, and then like Splinters happens to be in the sewer. Like he's already escaped in the later story we hear.
Okay.
Or are we hearing the story now? I forget.
It's
He tells the story like 3 times in this
feel like-
movie.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's just like this old guy who like keeps telling you the same story over and over.
Like, yeah, we
got
know,
it, Splinter.
we know.
We got it.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's fairly accurate to the comic book, at least.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because it'll cut to like it's goofy, but I guess it works for this movie because we're watching a movie
It's
about
like the animatronic
turtles.
or whatever.
Well, like
Yeah.
the rat,
Well-
like in the cage, like fighting when he was younger.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was like, "Hoo, ha."
It looks like those like toys you can get at like Walgreens for like the holidays. Where you just push the button. It's like you ain't nothing but
What was it, Big Billy Bass or Big Mouth Billy, or whatever it was?
This is like the fish. It's like waving its tail.
I trained with my master.
Dude, those things were all the rage back in the day.
They
Like,
really.
I remember the Christmas when that stupid fish landed, and like they'd be in stores and everybody would just be pressing that button. They're like, that's crazy.
That's
Like it just turns
great.
its head and sings songs.
Yeah.
So okay, real quick about the origin story.
Yeah.
This is where I'm confused because they don't really mention it in the movie. How does Splinter become like full on rat? He never touches the ooze.
He does. He was like in the ooze with the turtles collecting them. That's like how he also gets changed.
Okay.
But it's implied that he's already had some kind of like specialty about him, because when he's in that cage with his master, he's already mimicking the moves.
Oh,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like,
That's why I was like a
yeah.
little like, okay. Like,
And that's
a little
how it was
confused
in
by
the comic books too. Where he's already like learning martial arts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So,
It's-
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it's for kids.
Exactly what all sales. It's just for kids.
It's for
Well, we
dude.
also-
Because that's what I love. I was talking to I think my wife about this. We were after we watched it, and she's like, "Yeah, I think the rat like fighting in the cage was a little goofy."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, well," I was like, "But if that's the moment that breaks your disbelief, like you just watched a movie about like
Yeah, you're not going to
Ninja
enjoy the rest.
Turtles.
You're gonna have a difficult time in the rest of the movie.
it's weird, but it's weird when you take something out like that, and you're like, oh yeah, that's weird. You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
but 6-foot turtles that are fighting with martial arts weapons isn't like,
right.
New York ninjas.
yeah, New York heroes.
Yeah,
I was actually- adolescent heroes. I was actually watching a side story talking about like what's the what? Yeah. Like so was it oh man. When
keep snapping. Keep snapping. You'll get it.
We were watching Jason Goes to Hell the other night, which is the 9th in the Friday the 13th series.
Yeah.
And once the movie started to evolve and you got to see what the plot was, which it is ridiculous in that one, my girlfriend was like, oh man, you're really going to have to extend your disbelief for this one. I was like, we're on the 9th one. Like you should, just like a movie about turtles, like you should know where you're at. Like,
right. Yeah. You this can't be the first one that you're actually watching,
But that's the thing though. But when you do see the rat and he's like fighting, you're like, that's a stretch. We've been just watching turtles for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's why
codes.
Defending her, that's why I was like, that's what I'm saying is it's like it's weird when you take a moment like that and you're like, that moment takes you out of the movie, and it's like, why?
That's the too much.
Yeah. Why is that the too much moment?
Mm-hmm.
I think if they would have spent more time on the animatronics of the, we would have believed it more. Like if it was more fluid of a rat doing it, it would have been like, I can deal with this.
Or if it was that video, did you ever see that video of that rat? Did you see that video of the rat that came out like last year where it's in like the bathtub and it's just like cleaning itself? Like, and it's really weird looking. It was like real popular.
Was
okay,
I'll like animatronic, like
no, it's a real rat, and he's just like he's in this bath and he's just like cleaning himself like this, and it's really strange because it looks like human.
Interesting.
I'll send it to you guys, and you're like, yeah, it was big last year.
We'll throw that in as the outtake of the episode. We'll just cut to that clip of the rat bathing himself.
Don't ever say the things I say do not follow into it. You guys, you said video.
We were talking about rats.
That's true.
Human looking rats. It follows along.
So back to the movie. It says Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and now the movie starts.
Oh my god! We're at the beginning of the movie. Oh my god!
Speaking of, this is totally related. Do you guys remember the VHS version of this? There was a commercial that started right before the movie started, and it was for Pizza Hut, and it was a baseball team. Okay. And like the kid would go play baseball, and then he won, and they went to go to Pizza Hut. It's like a 5-minute commercial. Does anybody have any idea what I'm talking about?
Is it kind of like that Last Crusade Pepsi commercial they have before the movie?
No, it's like a legit like short film, and then it ends with go to Pizza Hut, and like they're celebrating.
Really
interesting. No,
was it THF? Was the video?
FHS?
No, THF.
I don't know. There's like
UHF with Weird Al.
No.
Anything to
I know what you're talking about though.
Yeah. THF.
Kramer there as a janitor. He's like,
yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
We bring up UHF all the time, and the part where Kramer walks into the office and he gets fired and he shuts the door and he like tries to turn around, the door is like closed, and he's like,
and he's in the office still, but he doesn't.
Yeah. And he's like starts looking around. And he's like.
So it says Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this is okay. So the movie pretty much flows as far as the Turtles have a thing for April O'Neil, the reporter, and how do they end up getting to her house? What's the transitional period here? Because all of a sudden, do they save her, and then she invites
Raphael, like finds her about to get mugged again, right?
She gets hit in the sewer. Does she get punched in the sewer?
Yeah, and he takes her to the sewer. And
or I'm sorry, the subway tunnel.
Out.
The subway tunnel.
Yeah, we get the whole background, which we've already talked about. And then she invites him back to her apartment for pizza.
Yeah.
Dude, me and Matt watched this together. We geeked when she's like, yeah, I'd invite you up to my apartment, but all I have is cold pizza. And Michelangelo is
it's like stop motion.
It is like
you said the magic word.
But prior to this, we do if you had to pick a turtle and say he was the star of the movie, which turtle would you say is the star?
Raphael.
Yeah. So Raphael kind of goes and he does a lot of things on his own. Surprisingly, he says damn like 13 times.
Damn!
They also say I think they say bitchin' at the end, which is
at the end,
surprising. Yeah, which is kind of surprising.
But he takes off on his own prior to this, just to kind of like walk around his trench coat and stop crime. He goes and sees critters, and he's very upset that he saw critters.
Dude, that sounded like a joke that you just said. Like it sounded like it sounded like a Chris joke that he went and saw critters. Like, you used to see critters, and it's like, no,
he saw critters.
I looked that up. That movie came out in '86, and the movie came out in '90. So it's like 4 years.
Yeah. Wow.
It is weird.
Yeah, all those people are still seeing critters in the theaters.
It was the dollar theater.
Yeah.
It stayed at top 10 movies for all those years.
It was the Avatar back in the 80s.
Have you seen this movie? This is before streaming. Everybody kept going.
So basically what I'm getting at with this though is Raphael kind of does his own thing on the streets. He meets Casey Jones, who is awesome, and he'll help out later. But this is how he meets April O'Neil. I think he's out in the streets when he saves her. Is that correct? He's just doing his thing. He throws
in the subway. Remember in the subway?
Yeah. Well, he throws the sai.
He's going to get a sai.
Yeah. Basically, he lost the sai earlier. She grabs it, and then she loses it after she gets knocked out.
In that scene where she gets like encountered by the foot in the subway, he's like, "I've come with the message from my master." Just like,
because the way he does it, and he's just like, and there's like nothing there. And
what's in there?
It's very disrespectful. If someone handed me something, I'm like, "What you got?" And they smack me, I would be furious.
And then she does, as she does, she starts like hitting them with her purse. I'm like, you get it, girl, go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'd be pissed too.
So Raphael takes her down to the sewer. They end up moving to April's house just to drop her off. And then they pretty much live there for the rest of the movie, especially scenes where April's boss shows up with his delinquent son.
Well, hold on. You got to go back a little bit, and because they go back to the sewers. Splinter's gone because he's been kidnapped, and their whole place is like. That's why they go to move in with. Yeah, that's why they go to move in with her because
one of the Foot Clan members like tracks Raphael down, and the subway follows him, and then he spies where the hideout is, and then they proceed to kidnap.
Well, because I want to bring this up with you guys because the plot's a little kind of fuzzy in this movie because the whole point of them, and correct me if I'm wrong, the whole point of them kidnapping Splinter is to lure the turtles out, right?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But without putting any kind of a threat out there to say like, they put no message out there that say like we have Splinter or that like come and get him here.
They didn't do we have a message for you.
Open your hand. I want to see it.
I want to see it this time.
What's funny is that Shredder is pissed because like I think up till that point, really the only fight he's had with the turtles has been when the turtles stopped the kids. Like they just like beat up the kids. Like we're trying to mug April at the beginning, and they're like, "There's a new threat against us."
It's weird. It's weird, and I wrote this down, but
it wasn't even like the ninjas.
I wrote this down because the turtles don't even know who Shredder is until the last encounter at the very end. They're like, "Who's this dude?"
Oh, that's weird. Yeah.
That is weird. Yeah.
So like, I guess he just. Yeah, Shredder's just pissed that he's the turtles are just beating up a bunch of kids around New York City.
I wish they would have had something at the end when Shredder was like, look, they went up to Shredder like, "Hey man, like, why you been doing this entire time?" And Shredder's like, "I'll tell you." And he's like, "Come closer."
April's like, "No, don't."
I've seen this trick before.
Private.
Yeah.
One at a time. Come in this room with me.
You might have pizza.
Pizza?
That feels good. That's actually before text messaging. That's how people used to talk.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I got a note for you.
Back in high school, that's how we handed out notes.
When there's like a couple of scenes where they're at April's place where the boss keeps showing up, and I was like, this is kind of inappropriate. Like, why is this guy showing up?
Yeah.
And he just like lets himself in. He's like, I brought my son, by the way.
It actually reminds me of Gina Davis's boss from The Fly. He's like always there. And,
right.
Well, I think they kind of have a thing.
I thought they were like sleeping with each other in this movie.
I don't think they are.
Yeah, just because he does. He shows up with his son twice in her apartment, and he's like, "Yeah, my stupid son Danny over there."
Yeah,
and it's like it's real weird. Like Danny's just sitting there quiet in the kitchen, and he's like, talking real negative about him. And
well, I'll tell you what.
But yeah,
I was gonna say Danny
I just thought they were sleeping with each other.
Yeah, Danny is the slowest observationalist. I don't know what you're gonna call it, but there's so many times that he's in the apartment, he sees a turtle, he's like, "Oh man, there's a turtle right in front of me." And by the time he walks to see the turtle's gone.
Yeah.
Like, because there's like a scene where there's like a turtle hiding under the table.
Right.
And
he sees it in the mirror.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then there's one where the turtle's hiding in the shower and like the turtle like pops up.
Yeah.
But that had nothing to do with Danny, that shower part. But go ahead.
I found that scene pretty charming, like just like the way they like, because that was like very cartoony, like just like they kept disappearing in these like scenes where you didn't think there'd be anywhere to escape.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But after this is when you kind of start getting to Danny being part of the Foot.
He's already. I mean, he was in there at the beginning. He handed that wallet to Shredder in daytime.
Thank you.
He's always been a part of the Foot Clan.
Since you gave me the wallet, I will give you this.
Here's a tip.
Oh, sweet.
Let's talk about the underground layer. Dude, you can tell they are totally using this platform to attract teenage
children.
males.
Yeah.
You got like
there's a Pog station.
Pog station
with slammers.
There's a bass guitar section.
Yeah. Where everybody can play their unplugged bass guitars.
Yeah.
Because they're unplugged.
I was gonna mention it underground. There's like it's like this like I don't know this Lord of the Flies kind of like thing going on, but also like you can do whatever you want. You can play games. You can eat junk food. You can apparently smoke cigars, but you can't drink here. You can only have Pepsi products in the
Well, that's because those are the only people that sponsored the movie. And they're like,
there's Pepsi in Burger King. There's like a couple of
take your King. Junior Whopper.
We got Pepsi and we got Crystal Pepsi. Your pick.
Yeah, Crystal Pepsi, gross.
And Cuban cigars.
Yeah.
The finest cigars.
Only the best.
Yeah.
I tell you what, like this is pretty dope. Like this area, this is pretty dope.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, if I was a kid, this would sucker me into. I'd be like, yeah, I'll be a ninja. Like if I was 12 years old, and somebody's like, hey, do you want to be a ninja and hang out in this like teen area? I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'm down.
There's some dark stuff going on in that place though. Like a bunch of teenage boys. Then just you do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't mean ninja. Like I mean hero. If somebody comes and says, "Hey, do you want to be a hero?"
Sorry for our UK audience, hero.
Yeah, sorry.
Take your sausages.
Your sausage links.
That's how they evaded the New York police for so long. They kept like seeing flyers, but it's just, this is just for heroes. We're okay.
Oh, a hero group. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So is Sam Rockwell? Is he an actual? He's just kind of the recruiter, I think. Is that correct?
He's credited as head thug.
Yeah, he doesn't really do anything except for he just is kind of the recruiter.
Yeah.
But this is where they also keep Splinter, and it cuts to Splinter, and he's in a cage, and he's like, they should just cut back to him fighting in the cage, like, let me out.
Just every time somebody new like shows up to his lair where he's being held into, he's like, when I was a young rat.
Let me tell you a story.
The kid backs up slowly.
Like when he comes back, he's like, he's coming back at the tail end of Splinter telling that story to another kid. It's the exact same story, and the kid's like, all right, well, I gotta leave. And then that kid sits down, he's like, when I was a young rat. It starts over again. It's like
the rides you go on at like Disney World where it's like the animatronics, and it's like when the next car comes by, it's like
no. Hey, did you guys ever have to do like Do you guys ever have to do that like President's Day thing at like school where you had to memorize like this whole speech and like parents would come by and like they'd like hit this fake button and you had to like start reciting your whole like speech?
No,
Wax museum. Wax
That
museum.
sounds horrible.
Yeah. It was awful, but like
Yeah.
like people would be like, hi, I'm Theodore Roosevelt, and in 18 whatever the year is,
Yeah.
and like some parents would just be like, this is cool, and like they get tired of hearing the whole story, they just walk away from you. You're like, you're just like, okay, you like should have
spent so much time memorizing that.
And it's like since like another person would come by and hit the button, you'd be like, hi, I'm Theodore Roosevelt.
dude, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it was.
Anyways,
It
yeah, we
sucked.
had to do that.
I remember.
You
I
were
was
part of it.
I was Charles Lindbergh, and yeah, that's who I was for the museum. Who are you, Miguel?
Bill Cosby.
Were you really?
Oh,
Is that
man.
true?
No.
Okay.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
No, I think it was Franklin.
Christopher Columbus, right?
I was Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what
Were
I
you
was.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought the 4 presidential terms was pretty dope.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Who can top that, bitches?
So Splinter he talks to Danny, he tells him basically who he is.
He pushes the
and why he's
button.
there. Yeah. Push my button.
Well, okay, you forgot to bring this up too, Miguel. Like, I don't know if I misheard you, but like, if you we were instructed in the wax museum that if they press,
Wait,
the
are we
button-
going back to this?
Yes,
Oh,
we
yeah.
are. I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
say,
Okay.
but every time they press the button, every time somebody presses the button, you have to start over. So regardless of you being halfway into your thing, you have to start over. So
They start remixing you.
Yes. Imagine being in an elementary school and some like kid that's younger than you walks over and presses the button and then just keeps pressing the button and you have to keep starting over and you can't break character. Otherwise you'd get an F. So it was
my
pretty
gosh.
like gnarly. Yeah. So like people, you just
Could you
got
imagine?
tormented for like the
Could
entire
you imagine if you started with like some like heroic quote like "Don't shoot till you see the whites of their don't shoot till you see the whites of, don't shoot." Like you can't speak anymore. Like your voice is going.
I walk over with one of the birds that has like a liquid in it and it like tips. You know what I'm talking about? And I can put it on the fake button. So it just constantly is, like tipping on.
Yeah.
I imagine like Miguel, you're like talking about being Bill Cosby, and yours starts off with this like you're acting like you're holding this giant sandwich because he always used to eat on the Cosby Show, and he's like, and he just keeps pressing the button. And you're just like, it's like, and it just doesn't stop. Like you never even get to speak. You're like.
It's like at the end you're like, and I've lived a full and clean life, and nothing will ever tarnish my reputation.
Oh my god.
Or you start off with that eye thing he does. It was like, you know what I'm talking about? Or like,
The theme song starts playing. It's like,
what a bummer, man. I can't watch Cosby Show anymore, man. I loved watching Cosby Show growing up.
I'd say there's
That's it.
a lot of like 80s like personas who just are just not good anymore.
Yeah, you
They
gotta
probably are,
separate.
Let me rephrase that. They were never good. They were just, we just know about it
They were
now.
just there.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good point. So Splinter's telling this story to Danny, and Danny's kind of like, you can tell he's kind of hesitant if he wants to stay with the foot or not. But he ends up telling, I'm kind of confused on this area because they end up going back to April's apartment. And is this where the clan comes in? Because
This is, because I think Danny actually tells the Foot Clan or Shredder where they're staying, basically, because he saw them.
Oh, and
in that
April
relation.
did like another report where she like kind of outs the
Hints.
clan also.
and the police, the chief is like super upset about this.
Yeah.
Does he have a tie-in with not with Splinter, but with Shredder and all them?
No, I think it's just because like at this point it's like April sounds like a QAnon, like
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like it just
Yeah.
it sounds really fake.
Spreading
like,
some rumors and lies.
like there are these kids and these Japanese ninjas who've come to New York and
Oh
they're
my
taking over our
gosh.
town.
Oh
and so it just
that is a
Okay.
total QAnon conspiracy.
Okay, because I totally thought he was in on it some way because they keep cutting him like he's a big deal with all of this.
Yeah.
But now this is when they go to April's apartment, and then we have like this huge fight.
I think like Raphael like dips out. He's like on the rooftop, and then like they're all swarming him on the roof.
Oh yeah, and Casey Jones sees it from across.
Yeah, and then they like, it's crazy because this is like a kids movie, but they like almost murder Raphael. They toss him through that skylight panel, and he falls into the apartment basically.
Okay,
but like he's beat to hell, and he's like practically in a coma for like the next 20 minutes.
He is. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Hey, on that scene where Casey sees Raphael on the rooftop, like I always see this in movies where people are like on rooftops and they look and they're like, oh, I've seen that guy before. And then they bust out binoculars and they're like, yeah, that's him. But like, I feel like in New York, like you wouldn't be able to tell, like, this is like person like that big. Like, how do you like know, like everybody all of a sudden has like this like eagle vision and they just like squint their eyes and they're like, I've seen this guy before. Like,
yeah. He's wearing a trench coat, I think.
You can tell he's a good distance away.
Yeah.
When he like kind of looks over. Yeah. What other movies have you seen where they're on top of buildings and they look across and
the zombie apocalypse? I've done a review on it.
Oh, nice. They do something similar like in our previous episode, Roadhouse, where they're looking at each other through binoculars, but it's not on the rooftop, it's on the ground.
We should do a special binocular month.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Banaka.
That and silent helicopters.
Oh man,
creepy
silent helicopters. You can hear those things for miles.
So this rest of this fight is actually really good. It's pretty well choreographed because they all fight on like the one level, because they mentioned this earlier in the movie, is that she lives above an antique shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do most of the fighting above the antique shop, and eventually the floor caves in and they all land into the shop. And this is when like Casey Jones jumps in, kind of saves the day and helps everybody out. And then meanwhile, we find out in the midst of all this that April's getting fired.
Oh yeah, it's like the burning phone
answering machine.
Yeah.
So they all take out off and they go to, is it her farm? Is that where they're at?
I think so, yeah.
So we have the four turtles, we got April, and we got Casey Jones. And there's like a good 15 minutes spent here. It's kind of, I like this in this movie. It's I feel like it's a scene from a different movie where like they go hide out and you get to see more of their
backstory or
just like their character, I guess.
Yeah, it establishes the turtles more.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what it didn't do a good job of showing was that Leo is the leader.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
they didn't really do that.
And this one, like right there when you see Leo's not leaving Raph's side, like I think that like definitely shows you that like he's like the most responsible of them all, and then like he's there for him. And then I feel Raphael, like, well, we already kind of got Raphael established.
Mm-hmm.
Donatello and Mike don't really get too much, but at least you like see that they're like buddies and like that's their like thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, they even give Michelangelo some time with Casey Jones when they're working on the car together. So they're kind of, I think it was Michelangelo.
I think it was Donatello.
Was it Donatello?
Yeah.
But yeah, they're giving them some more character and some more like human elements, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I like this whole scene. I like April drawing the turtles, and I kind of like
explaining everything that's going on with them, I guess. Like
I thought it was weird. I thought the only weird part of that is that it randomly goes into a voiceover thing.
Agreed. Yeah, it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I like I do like the scenes of just kind of character building, because there was a scene earlier in the movie I really enjoyed, was when they're waiting for the pizza man.
Oh yeah.
And it's I think it's Leonardo and Michelangelo.
It's Raph and Donatello. No, Michelangelo. Michelangelo and Donatello are waiting for the pizza guy.
Yeah. And just the way he's like, hey, what do you think of like what Splinter said? He's like, I don't know. He's like, 30 seconds, man, and the pizza's free. It's like,
he's like chewing on the popsicle stick.
And he's just like, nice night. It's like,
I feel like when I was little, like I saw this scene, I was like, that's awesome, free pizza. And now I watch it, I'm like, oh, that guy's gonna lose his job.
What's weird in that scene though is that the actor who plays the pizza man in that scene is the same actor that plays Michelangelo. Is like in the scene.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So he ripped himself off.
Ooh. Here's a tip.
I'll see you guys later.
To himself.
Yeah.
I've got something.
So during the farm scene, we established that Casey Jones and April O'Neil kind of have like a kind of a connection. And then Raphael,
because they're the only two human characters.
I think so.
And you
Yeah,
have to-
they can
you have
relate
to be
very well
romantic.
together.
Yeah.
This is more of a when in Rome situation.
It's
It's
a very clutch. It's very clutch.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Um, Raphael ends up coming out of his like coma, which Raphael laying in the bathtub is super depressing looking.
Oh yeah, they like
It's
just
cool
left his
looking,
body
though.
in there.
It looks very realistic, but it's very sad at the same time.
Yeah.
But he makes a recovery and everybody's like super stoked about it. And like, all right, we got to go back. It's time to go get Splinter. And
Oh wait,
I didn't even go ahead.
so they show that scene where the turtles are training together again, like, and I thought that was like a really cool scene.
Yeah.
But the one thing though is if you back up when Raphael is fighting the foot, this is a really like dick thing to point out. But anyways, he loses his size to the clan, and the clan chucks it off the building.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, when they're back at the farm, he's got his size again.
Oh, weird.
And what I thought is, okay, maybe they have extra. But at the beginning of the movie, Raph is pissed because he lost one of his size, and he goes out of his way to go get it back.
Right.
So I'm like, where'd they get the psi from? Because they like escaped underground or something.
That's actually a pretty good
weird.
point. Yeah.
Crazy.
And he loses them again at the end of the movie when he throws them off the roof. So it's like he loses these things multiple times in the movie.
You know what he needs? You know those things where like if you're wearing a badge right here, you can extend it and it snaps back. He needs
And
that.
it comes back like point like
damn. So they return back to the city, and I think do they go straight to go fight Shredder? Is this pretty much what happens?
then they go back to get some sleep.
Yeah.
They go back underground. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, they go back
underground.
Yeah, they go back underground. Ground.
Graham.
Ground.
And Danny comes back.
You're spending too much. You're spending too much time at that farm, Matt, and the scene with them. The guy goes.
Gotta make money for COVID.
What?
What am I saying?
Oh my
god. Flat joke. Failed.
Okay.
Failed
so
joke. Words. Someone take over, please talk.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm asking for a segue. So they go back down to underground. Is that correct?
Yeah, underground.
And then the reason that they get attacked again, I think, is because Danny gives one of the drawings. Because Danny becomes friends with the turtles right here, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Oh yeah, because Danny's been hiding out underground. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Danny comes back to them, and he's apologizing or something, but then like he finds out that they've got Splinter. He finds out that Splinter's associated with the turtles, and so he goes back to the lair or whatever. What are we calling this place? The kids hang out.
Yeah, the kids zone. The kids zone. Discovery
Kids
zone.
Discovery zone.
Yeah.
He goes back to the Discovery Zone, and he goes to talk to Splinter, but he's like, when I was little. When I was a little.
No! I've already heard this story.
And then Shredder comes back.
When he shows him the
He's like, you're hiding something from me, and he finds that he's like, I knew you have a drawing in your pocket, and he just steals
open
it.
your hands.
Yeah.
And by the way, Shredder in this scene is wearing he's not wearing his cape anymore, so he just has this
This is
very
just casual. This is just this
he
casual.
has this very effeminate 1980s Power Woman suit thing going on.
Yes.
And to me it looks like he's wearing Prince's outfit from the Most Beautiful Girl in the World video. And it just because then he immediately goes and slaps Splinter, and I'm like, it's just like Purple Rain.
He's got it's got a rollerball look to it. It's it looks like he's wearing an outfit with these huge shoulder pads.
Right.
It looks odd without the cape.
Yeah, I wish they would have kept that cape on him the whole movie.
Agreed.
Right.
So at this point,
you'd feel really stupid getting arrested in this. You know, like if there was a raid on the Hero Complex and he got arrested and he had to walk out in this purple like glittery outfit with like all these like spikes and like, yeah, he didn't put up a fight at all. It was barely a fight. Like,
get my cape. Get my cape.
I don't want to look stupid.
It's embarrassing.
He looks like he's wearing like the cape though is like very crinkly. It reminds me of like those like Glad Force Flex trash bags.
Yeah.
That's a good description.
So after
Brought
this,
to you by.
Speaking of which, he just like slide in an ad.
I'd like to thank our sponsors for today's video.
Do they go and get the turtles now? Is that did they head back to the underground lair? Is that correct?
Casey Jones followed Child to the Discovery Zone, and then
but the guys as a Foot Clan member.
Yeah, but then like I guess like the turtles. Yeah, Shredder sends the foot to the hideout.
Yeah,
because Casey Jones.
Yeah,
they're trying to get. They're like working on getting Splinter out at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then, do the turtles show up at the place? Or do they show up?
Shredder decides to go because he's like, you guys have failed too many times. Like, I'm gonna go do this myself.
Right.
So the foot and Shredder go to the turtles' place.
Oh, so is the Shredder? Is there scenes of Shredder underground fighting?
No, because they work their way up.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Like
that's
going from hideout, hero hideout to the sewer tunnels up into the streets, and then they find themselves on the rooftop.
That's okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
just like the video game.
Yeah,
just like
yeah, levels.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sing the whole theme to you real quick.
Nice.
Do. No, wait, that's different. It could be a song. I don't know.
It's very similar to the.
So we have pretty much the end scene of this movie is them all up on top of this rooftop, fighting Shredder. I'll tell you what, I love the way this movie looks. It looks like a gritty movie.
It's
a gritty kids movie, pretty much.
Yeah, this movie looks great for like for its time, or not even. I'm sorry, not for its time, but it just looks. It's aged very, very well.
It's just a good looking like. It's just like the way they shot it's very nice. Like
the only parts that look bad, and we brought this up, were the past scenes where like they take place where it's like him training in his cage and stuff like that. They shot it. It's because they shot it in 16 millimeter.
I would say the film like looked very like
just
faded.
Those scenes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it looked very faded and like kind of grainy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's just how they shot it, but
and I guess because it's like that's what I'm saying. They shot I keep saying past scenes. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm not like flashback scenes. There you go. Jeez. The flashback scenes are all shot in 16 millimeters, so they look really bad, like grainy wise.
Right.
But they also shot a lot of the talking scenes, like when the turtles are talking to each other, and the fighting scenes with the turtles. They shot them at 22 and 23 frames per second, so they could speed up the process to 24 frames, and the turtles would move faster because I guess like the animatronics were like a little slow, and the fight scenes because they were the costumes were so luggish.
Yeah,
they were a little bit slower, so they could speed it up just a little bit so it seemed more natural.
It's pretty smart,
which I thought was kind of interesting.
That's nice.
It is, yeah. Well, and actually, I would really like to see what a nice like 4K transfer of this movie would look like.
Yeah.
But even like we watched it in HD, and it was just it was like I said, it was just kind of grainy, and like those flashback scenes are kind of rough looking too. So we'll see. But this last final battle scene is basically, is it just each turtle going one-on-one with Shredder for the most part?
Yeah, I think it starts with like Leonardo and then Raphael maybe, and then I think it's Donatello and Michelangelo doing rock paper scissors, and then
and then
Leo lands a cut. Leo lands a cut, which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. And they all end up failing, and then cut to Splinter at the top of the building, and Splinter reveals,
"Let me tell you a story, Shredder."
Yeah.
He does, right? He's like,
"You might remember me. Let me tell you this flashback."
He pulls his mask down. He's like, "I haven't been able to grow this facial hair in for like 20 years."
Well, that's the whole thing. Is so Splinter cut Shredder when he was younger. And I'm guessing the only reason that Shredder wears this mask is because of this like 3-line cut right here. Like, which I think is kind of weird. That
I imagine it started off with the mask. And he's like, "Well, it's not going to look well, so I better get this other part.
If I just have
I better get this other part. Might as well get this part. This part." Just kind of.
He's like the kid from Little Giants when he puts the black stuff under his eyes, and then he keeps going, and it's all over his face.
So, like, you're telling me that Shredder wears a mask because he's insecure?
I think he is, to be honest.
I think so too. Yeah.
Okay.
And
hey, if you're gonna run around New York with a bunch of ninjas, like you have to have some kind of like mentality thing.
Do it in exactly.
Maybe he probably just started off with the helmet, and he just had like the big blade helmet, and he just like walked around, and then it was like it was just the helmet and the jumpsuit, and then like you need some more. It doesn't look very threatening. But so they end up doing this whole huge fight here at the end between Splinter and Shredder. And Splinter basically throws Shredder off the building.
It's actually not even a huge fight. He just says, like, I'm the one that scratched you. He's like, oh! Flies off the rooftop. Like, that's all that happens.
It is pretty much
what a way to sum that up. Like,
he's super pissed. He just runs at him and starts screaming.
And then, like, the darkest scene of the movie follows, where Casey just turns on the garbage thing.
It's crazy. He says, whoops.
He's like, and he presses the button, and Shredder gets killed by a dumpster.
If this movie wasn't successful and they did spawn several sequels, Casey Jones just murdered Shredder.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what happened.
Sure.
He just murders Shredder.
Yeah.
But we find out in the sequel that he just like he didn't get crushed at all. Like he just climbs out of the garbage pit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense.
When that truck makes it,
he got smashed in by 2 mattresses. He's like, oh,
thank God.
It was a feather dumpster truck.
Oh, thank God.
Somebody got rid of all their party balloons. And he's like, oh, this is great.
But then it cuts to basically like a happy ending. April O'Neil and Casey Jones kiss, and they're in love. For now, I don't even think Casey Jones. I don't even think
he's in.
I know he's not in the second one.
He's in 3.
Is he in? Oh yeah, he is because he goes back in time.
Oh yeah,
no,
he's not in the second one, is he?
He's in 3, and if I recall, I think he hangs back in present time while everyone else is hanging out in the past.
They meet his ancestor though, so it's the same actor when they go back in time.
They also have like golf clubs and a hockey mask and stuff in the feudal Japan.
Yeah, yep, that's it.
3 is so boring. I remember 3 being so boring.
I remember even as a kid 3 being awful.
Yeah.
I'd like to try to rewatch it, but from what I've read, most people don't like it either.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because this one, well, just to wrap this movie up real quick. So they celebrate, they're totally excited. What's like the last shot of this movie? I mean, it's pretty much
him saying "Cowabunga," right?
Oh, they're going through their favorite words, I think. He's like,
my favorite,
what's your favorite
word of all time?
Yeah.
And he says the "Cowabunga," and they all cheer, and that's Turtles, 1990.
I made a funny.
Yeah. One thing I do want to talk about before the movie wraps, though, the soundtrack is pretty solid.
I like the soundtrack.
Yeah, the score is a lot of fun. I feel like it adds a lot to this movie because
the opening track with like them stealing, and then like I like that song, and then specifically when the Turtles are fighting Shredder. That's when it like picks up. I was like, this is awesome music.
It adds a lot of energy to this movie, and actually, just in general, like we've talked about it, like this is essentially a kids movie, but like it's got a very mature theme. It's got a very mature look to it, and. Let's get to the rankings real quick. Hanto, I'll start off with you. This movie has a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. What would you give it?
I give it I'd say like 75. I think it's 75? I think it's a good movie. Like it's not I don't think it should be as low as 40 something, whatever.
Okay. Miguel, what would you give it?
I'm going down like to 60 or something like that. I think I didn't quite catch me as when I was younger. Like it was just, I don't know, something about the movie itself just didn't like, but it was
60 is still pretty good though.
Yeah.
And Matt, what would you give it?
Or like, so Miguel, like, would you prefer the cartoon or the movie?
I haven't watched the cartoons like
I probably watched the
also like
cartoon, to
since
be
I was
honest.
little too. But yeah, I think the cartoon might be a little bit better to watch just because you can do wackier stuff with it.
Yeah. Honto, you
but
agree?
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to drop mine to 70%. Is that all right?
Okay.
I
want people to judge me on the podcast. I want people to-
Wait,
I'm
would you
going
give
with-
Roadhouse?
like a 95%.
You probably
Oh.
did. Matt, what would you give Rotten Tomatoes score for this?
80%. I'd give it 80%. I think this
Wow.
movie is for what it is, I think it really like does
It
a
works.
good job with the material, and it looks great. It really does look really damn good for what it is, and we got all those CGI remakes within the past like 10 or so years,
Yeah.
and they don't even hold like a candle to this torch. But
wait, I think that's what I watched instead. Hang on.
Oh no. No, I think it looks really good. I think it aged really well. I would love to see it like cleaned up. I would love to get like an awesome Blu-ray edition of it. And like the story is really good, and the characterization's really great on all of them.
Just building off of what you just said, I
We're
was
going
like,
back to a 70.
I'm going back to 75%. No, I was constantly thinking about those newer Ninja Turtle movies, like the Michael Bay produced or whatever. And I kept thinking like the suits actually look pretty awesome in this movie, especially like when they're fighting. They cut to like wide shots and like they're doing like flips and everything. It's kind of like impressive.
It's Jim Henson, right? The company.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, Jim Henson did the animatronics on it.
So. But it's just like, you just can't like. I just don't like CGI, especially when you're making them turtles and making them all weird looking.
Yeah.
I think just this movie works.
Well, they gave them nostrils in the new one, and that like completely like changed up their like look.
Yeah.
Like they gave them like noses.
They do have nostrils. Yeah,
I think they do.
Well, yeah, the new ones they do. Yeah.
But
it actually reminds me. Did you see? There's a picture floating around, and it's from this movie, and it's Donatello, and he's screaming. And if you look down in his throat, you can see like the face of the person that's in the suit. But you can always see their teeth, I think. So it's like teeth inside of teeth.
It's like a grin. Like,
yeah, it's bizarre, dude. It's a creepy picture. I would give it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was like, do you think they have like the people in the suits where they actually like saying their lines too, or like, because like I kept picturing like when Michael Jackson had to do like the wolf howl thing, and like they had to like get somebody to do like a better howl for him. He's like, oh.
I always think about this too. Like
that's actually a good point.
In music videos when they have to like, because they all lip sync, right? They always sing to like a temp track or whatever. And they have to like lip sync, and it's so goofy because it's like, can you imagine like just like lip syncing like for like a full 2 days of work, or like doing something like this? Like they do all these Ninja Turtle scenes, right? And there's like no lines being said because all the lines are in post. So they're just on set, like doing this, like, and they're like, and somebody's like, "Yeah, good call, Raphael. I agree with you." You know what I mean? Like how weird that would be.
It's like those music videos without the lyrics, where it's like Prodigy's Firestarter.
Yeah,
where it's just like the, just like running to the tunnels. It's like that on the set.
So, Chris, your rating?
75. Everything you guys pretty much said. It's fun. It holds up. There's nothing I really don't like about this movie. It's a solid flick.
Yeah.
So I would like to do 2 eventually because 2 is so much fun. If we end up doing 2 at one point, Miguel, would you come back for it 2?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It'd be awkward if you said no.
I'm so glad you said yes.
I wanted to point out something though in this movie that since it was an older movie, and especially one that was like tied into like our childhood era, like when we were growing up, old tech that kind of stood out to me. So I wrote these down. So one was like the Walkman.
Oh yeah.
The kid had I don't know if, at least in my childhood, I had some TVs with the actual switches.
Mm-hmm.
The UHF, like the dials.
Yeah.
Dude, speaking of, did you see their TV? Like,
it's just like held together.
Yeah, it's like held together because it's like broken in like 4 different parts, and it's like taped up and it's like caved in. It's a really weird TV.
It's like super dangerous. It's like a tube television, so it's just like exposed and everything.
Oh man.
So boom boxes.
Yeah.
Rolling windows.
Oh like, yeah.
And then at the very end, when the reporters come to like figure out what happened, like you see like the old cameras, and a lot of that stuff is still wired, but they're like huge cameras. But then the guy who's in charge of audio shows up with this huge tape like recorder like strapped to his chest, and he's like, "All right, I'm here."
Two guys show up. Two guys show up with spools of audio, and that spool is attached to another guy, and he's got a spool of audio too. Yeah.
He's like, he has to like wind it. He's like,
They have to both do it at the same time.
They have to keep it at a speed, or else like it's like.
Splinter's trying to tell a story to the audio, and they're like,
he's like, when I was a rat.
When I was a rat.
No, actually, when you were saying that about the rolling down windows, that's a weird thing to think about. That I'll probably never do that again in my life. Is roll down a window.
I had it in my last car.
Did
I
you?
loved it. Honestly, because like
the exercise.
The exercise.
Yeah.
No, because like they would never break. There's electronic ones, they break, and it's like it's a lot of money to get them all fixed. So I loved having I had a Jeep and I had the wind down windows. I didn't mind it.
And it would play audio too when you would do that. So you play your songs.
It was the only way to get the radio to work.
Oh.
That's how you like charged up your car like in the morning.
Like both windows.
I gotta get all the way to the Tri-County Mall today. Like,
Miguel, is there anything you want to plug or let the world know that you have going on?
I'm a musician in Columbus. I have a band called AM Soul. I also have a small YouTube channel that I periodically post just random content. I do some movie reviews.
What's it called?
Miggy Reviews.
That's right.
And I'm thinking about doing some new stuff there. So I'll send some links to you guys. And
yeah, what's your YouTube page?
You just said it. Miggy Reviews.
That's I think it's called Max Sounds Comedy.
Yeah.
I'll link. I'll add all the links to our description on Facebook, YouTube, pretty much everywhere. So
yeah,
sweet. Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. Hope we will see you again with Turtles 2.
Absolutely.
Have you guys done Terminator 2?
We have not.
No, we've talked about it because we're gonna do like an Arnold month, and
I would love to be part of that movie.
We really want to do like a superior sequels month,
Okay.
and I feel like that's a superior sequel.
Yeah.
Call me.
Yeah.
Okay,
we'll
for sure.
fly you in, dude.
Yeah.
So, but no, Miguel, thank you so much for joining us.
This
We
is
really
awesome.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
And for the audience, thank you so much for joining us as well. If you have any recommendations or anything you want to see covered, you can hit us up on Facebook, or you can email us at
cinemacultpodcast@gmail.com.
And thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
I'm Honto.
I'm Miggy.
And some of us will see you next time. So,
TURTLE power, guys.